You know that feeling when you're just casually scrolling through your phone on like a random Tuesday night?
Oh, yeah. We all know that exact feeling.
Right. You're swiping past these incredibly aesthetic morning routines, perfectly organized refrigerators, or maybe someone just casually sipping a matcha latte in this sun-drenched, completely minimalist living room.
And it always looks so effortless.
Exactly. And suddenly you feel this intensely specific urge. You don't just want the matcha, you want the entire
You
lifestyle.
want the living room, the routine, the whole package.
Yes, and it feels entirely like your own spontaneous desire.
Hmm.
But here is the core thesis that is going to completely change how you view your own screen. The very same theories and concepts of propaganda pioneered in the 1920s by Edward Bernays are exactly what modern influencers use to persuade their followers today.
It is such a profound realization, honestly, to look at an iPhone screen and literally see the historical architecture of 1920s propaganda operating right beneath the surface.
It really is wild.
Because we look at our feeds and we assume we are participating in this modern organic culture.
Hmm.
But the reality is that the invisible machinery beneath that feeling of spontaneous desire that was mapped out a whole century ago.
So our sources today come from this brilliant article titled Edward Bernays, From Propaganda to Influencers. And it's actually the final piece of a wider series that examined early mass communication thinkers.
Right, the series that also covered Gustave Le Bon and Walter Lippmann.
Yeah, exactly. Those guys laid the groundwork. So our mission for this deep dive is to equip you with the tools to decode the hidden machinery behind your social media feeds. We want to reveal how your desires and opinions are shaped without you even noticing.
Which happens to all of us, by the way.
Oh, 100%. Okay, let's unpack this. Edward Bernays is historically referred to as the father of public relations. But reading through the source material, calling him the original architect of influencer culture feels vastly more accurate.
I completely agree. That title captures his legacy far better. And to understand why his methods are so deeply relevant to you today, we really have to confront a fairly uncomfortable truth about human nature.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Well, it's just that we all naturally flatter ourselves, right? We assume we operate in this vacuum of perfect logic.
We like to think we're very rational creatures.
Exactly. We believe we encounter a problem, we gather the objective facts, we apply rational thought, and then we arrive at an independent choice.
But Bernays didn't buy that, did he?
Not at all. He looked at the rise of mass society in the early 20th century and recognized that this rational model was largely a myth. He saw that our choices, like what we buy, who we vote for, how we live, they're actually driven by a select few.
A select few who know exactly what buttons to push.
Precisely. People who understand how to manipulate symbols, tap into deep-seated emotions, and just generally manage the broader media landscape.
So to understand how a modern influencer actually persuades you, we have to start with Bernays' foundational concept. He actually coined a specific phrase for this methodology, didn't he?
Yeah, he called it the engineering of consent.
The engineering of consent. I mean, it sounds incredibly clinical, almost surgical.
It does. But that phrasing is very intentional. Bernays realized that arguing with the public using facts, statistics, and logical debates is just tremendously inefficient.
Because people just put their defenses up.
Right. When you feel like you are being sold to or argued with, you instinctively push back. So instead of trying to force a new idea into someone's head through the front door, the engineering of consent works by slipping in through the side window.
That is such a good way to put it.
You work with the psychological architecture that is already present in the target audience. You tap into their pre-existing desires, their personal identities, and perhaps most importantly, their deepest anxieties.
Let me try an analogy here to map this out for everyone listening. Imagine you are trying to sell a new high-tech vacuum cleaner.
Okay, a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. The traditional advertising model, like the old way of doing things, is like a salesperson loudly knocking on your front door, shoving the vacuum in your face, and aggressively listing all of its technical specifications.
Oh, right. The motor speed, the filter quality, the warranty, all that.
Exactly, the hard sell.
And it is abrasive. It's obvious. It invites immediate skepticism because you know they just want your money.
But engineering consent takes an entirely different path. That approach is like someone subtly sneaking into your neighborhood and making your house feel so impossibly dusty, so inherently uncomfortable and unclean, that you actively go out seeking a solution.
Wow. Yes.
You aren't arguing the facts of the vacuum. You are altering the environment of the person's desires.
You're creating the problem, so they seek your solution.
Right. You change their reality just enough so that when they finally purchase the vacuum, they firmly believe it was their own brilliant idea to do so.
That captures the mechanism perfectly.
Yep.
You aren't selling the machine. You are engineering a condition where the machine is the only logical cure for the anxiety you just introduced.
It's kind of genius, even if it is a bit unsettling.
It is. And to understand how Bernays became so uniquely skilled at mapping out these anxieties, we have to look at his family tree. Because Bernays was actually the nephew of Sigmund Freud.
Wait, Sigmund Freud, the
The
psychoanalyst.
very same.
That connection completely reframes the engineering part of his philosophy for me.
It really does. Bernays was captivated by his uncle's theories regarding the human unconscious. Freud argued that humans are not primarily driven by rational thought, but by hidden, deep-rooted, often irrational needs.
So things like the need to belong to a tribe or the need to feel secure.
Exactly. The desire to feel sexually attractive or even the urge to project virtue and superiority to our peers. Bernays took those individual psychoanalytic concepts and basically scaled them up to a societal level.
He applied Freud to the masses.
He did. He posited that if you can link a mass-produced product to one of these unconscious drives, you bypass rational decision-making entirely.
And this is where the modern parallel just hits so incredibly hard. Because when you scroll through TikTok or Instagram, influencers rarely just push the technical specs of a product.
No, they almost never do.
They are operating as modern consent engineers. They don't just hold up a blender and talk about the blade speed. They are compressing. It's totally tied to identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the appeal is tethered to your identity and your need for safety, rather than, a logical debate about ingredients. You adopt the lifestyle assuming it is your personal preference.
So the manipulation remains completely invisible because it feels identical to self-expression.
Exactly.
Okay, so if we accept that desires can be engineered at this unconscious psychological level, the next piece of the puzzle is distribution.
Right. How do you get it out there?
Yeah. If you engineer a desire in one person, how do you infect millions of others? How do you get an entire society to adopt the script?
Well, according to our source material, the answer lies in mastering the illusion of the crowd.
The illusion of the crowd. Tell me more about that.
Bernays was absolutely obsessed with the concept of social proof. Because human beings are inherently social, herd-oriented creatures. When we're faced with uncertainty, we look around to see what the group is doing before we make our own choices.
We want to fit in. We want to be safe in numbers.
Exactly. So Bernays understood a vital mechanism of mass persuasion. If you want a new behavior to spread rapidly, you have to make it look like it is already widely accepted by the culture.
You have to manufacture the popularity before the popularity actually exists.
Yes.
The historical examples provided in the text to illustrate this are genuinely staggering. Like, take the American breakfast.
This is one of my favorites.
So Beechnut Packing Company approached Bernays because they wanted to increase consumer demand for bacon. And Bernays didn't launch an ad campaign talking about taste of beechnut bacon.
Which is what any normal PR person would have done at the time.
Right. Instead, he went to his agency's internal medical consultant and asked a simple question. Is a heavy, hearty breakfast better for human health than a light breakfast?
And in the 1920s, medical authority was the ultimate form of social proof. People trusted doctors implicitly.
So the doctor says yes, a hearty breakfast is better. Then Bernays gets that doctor to write to 5,000 other physicians across the country, asking them to confirm that a hearty breakfast is medically sound.
Just brilliant.
He takes those thousands of affirmative responses and leaks them to newspapers nationwide. The headlines literally read that thousands of doctors recommend a hearty breakfast to start the day.
And crucially, he made sure bacon and eggs was explicitly listed in those articles as the ideal hearty meal.
It's crazy. He literally manufactured a cultural staple by staging the medical consensus.
He engineered the environment. He made the public feel a sudden health anxiety about their light breakfasts, and then offered bacon as the doctor-approved cure.
Unbelievable. But his most audacious application of social proof has to be the 1929 campaign with the American Tobacco Company.
Oh, the torches of freedom.
Yeah. At the time, there was this strict social taboo against women smoking in public, so the tobacco industry was losing out on half their potential market.
Right. So Bernays consulted a psychoanalyst who told him that for women, cigarettes could represent torches of freedom, symbols of challenging male authority.
So Bernays stages this highly publicized stunt. He hires a group of young debutantes to march in the famous Easter Sunday parade in New York City.
And not just March, but at a very specific, prearranged moment, they all simultaneously lit up their cigarettes.
Right, and he tipped off the press beforehand, ensuring that photographers were perfectly positioned to capture the moment. It was front-page news across the country.
He didn't advertise a flavor of the tobacco. He advertised the feeling of liberation.
He made sure the entire country saw this popular movement happening, creating instant social proof that powerful modern women were now smoking.
It's brilliant and terrifying.
But wait, if you are listening to this and thinking about your own social media feed, you are probably spotting a discrepancy here.
How do you mean?
Well, when we hear about a staged 1920s parade or a manipulated doctor survey, it sounds very top-down. It sounds like a corporate stunt.
Sure.
But when you see a trend exploding on TikTok, let's say a specific morning routine or a new skincare aesthetic, it looks totally organic. It is just regular people in their own bedrooms filming themselves.
You know, it was like a grassroots thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How can we compare a teenager filming a vlog to a massively orchestrated 1920s PR stunt?
What's fascinating here is that the underlying mechanism of contagion hasn't changed a single bit. Only the delivery system has been optimized.
Optimized how?
Influencers are performing a highly calibrated digital version of the Easter parade stunt. The phenomenon you were describing, that feeling that a trend is just organically popping up everywhere, is almost always the result of back-end coordination.
So it's not a coincidence.
Not at all. When the same aesthetic, the same talking points, or the same obscure product repeatedly appears across multiple high-engagement creators within a short window of time, it creates an overwhelming artificial appearance of popularity.
The popularity appears on our screens before it actually exists in the real world.
Exactly. You see it everywhere you swipe, so your brain categorizes it as established culture. It just feels normal.
And then as a consumer, you adopt the behavior partly out of a fear of missing out, right?
Yeah, but primarily because your unconscious mind assumes if this many different unconnected people are doing this, it must be the correct way to act. The behavior just becomes the default.
But for that modern social proof to feel organic to us, it has to be incredibly well designed to hide the strings being pulled. I mean, the public can never know the trend was manufactured or the spell breaks.
Exactly. And Bernays actually had a specific term for the people pulling those hidden strings. He referred to them as the invisible government.
The invisible government, which, out of context, sounds like a massive paranoid conspiracy theory.
It really does. And our source material is very careful to clarify this point because it is so easy to misinterpret.
Right.
The text specifically notes that, contrary to what professional conspiracy theorists like David Icke claim, or what you might encounter in Will Camden's modern conspiracy novel mentioned in the article, Bernays was not describing a secret, shadowy cabal of supervillains meeting in a smoke-filled room to control the world.
He wasn't talking about the Illuminati.
Right. No Illuminati. He was simply describing PR professionals, marketing executives, and media planners doing their everyday jobs. It is just the mundane, everyday machinery of commerce and media communication.
Here's where it gets really interesting when we apply this invisible government concept to the modern creator economy.
Okay.
As viewers, we only ever see the front stage performance. We see creators seemingly sharing what they naturally love. We see cultural trends that appear to just spontaneously bloom out of nowhere.
Wait, we see the finished product.
Right. I used to think of this like a theater production where we ignore the directors backstage. But I think a better analogy for the internet is a highly manicured botanical garden.
A botanical garden. Let's explore that.
When you walk through a massive botanical garden, it looks lush, wild, and incredibly natural. The flowers seem to be blooming completely spontaneously.
It feels like nature just doing its thing.
Exactly. But what you don't see, buried beneath the soil, is an invisible, highly calibrated grid of irrigation pipes, temperature sensors, and timed sprinklers.
And those are determining exactly what grows.
Yes. They determine exactly which plants bloom, how large they grow, and when they die off. In the creator economy, those underground pipes are algorithms and PR dollars.
That perfectly illustrates how modern digital influence operates. And the text actually outlines the mechanics of this backstage irrigation system.
How does it work?
Behind the seemingly spontaneous videos on your screen, you have PR agencies brokering quiet back-channel deals. You have platforms constantly tweaking their recommendation algorithms to favor certain types of engagement.
Right, pushing certain sounds or hashtags.
Exactly. And you have brands distributing very specific mood boards and talking points to creators.
Let's trace how that actually works in practice. Imagine a brand wants to launch a new lifestyle product. They don't just buy a banner ad anymore.
No, banner ads are dead.
The PR agency identifies 15 mid-tier influencers who all share a similar visual aesthetic. They send them the product along with a carefully crafted narrative. And then all 15 creators post their videos within like a 48-hour window.
And what Bernays would instantly applaud here is the subtle harmony of the messaging. Each post looks like a personal, independent choice by the creator.
It looks like they just happened to discover this amazing new thing.
Exactly. But simultaneously, the platform's algorithm detects a sudden, massive spike in specific keywords, audio tracks, and visual similarities across these 15 accounts.
So the algorithm wakes up.
Right. The algorithm's programming categorizes this sudden cluster of activity as a trending topic.
So the algorithm pipes open up, and the platform pushes those videos out to the broader For You page.
And then thousands of regular, unaffiliated users are suddenly flooded with these videos. They assume they're witnessing a spontaneous cultural wave.
So they start buying the product.
They buy the product, they make their own organic videos to participate in the trend, and the artificial saturation triggers genuine mass adoption. The illusion of spontaneity is entirely complete.
It's mind-blowing. But I have a question about this. If we are a relatively savvy generation like, we know that sponsorships and PR packages exist. How do these hidden campaigns continuously bypass our critical thinking?
That is the million-dollar question.
Why do we place our trust in the messenger to begin with?
Well, according to our source, it all comes down to the ultimate currency of the modern web: prestige.
Prestige.
Yeah. Bernays was very open about the fact that his methodology concentrated influence in the hands of the specific group, those who already possessed access to media and resources.
The gatekeepers, essentially.
Right. Prestige is the power to be perceived as successful, important, or deeply authoritative. When a messenger holds prestige, steering public opinion becomes frictionless.
Because we want to listen to them.
Exactly. Human psychology dictates that we are overwhelmingly more likely to accept a message without critical scrutiny if it's delivered by someone we already admire.
In the 1920s, that prestige might have been a doctor's signature on a bacon advertisement. But today, prestige is rigidly quantified. We measure it in real time.
We can literally see the numbers.
Right. We are talking about follower counts, engagement metrics, blue verification check marks, and high-status collaborations with other famous creators.
Those digital metrics are the modern markers of trust and authority.
Think about your own scrolling habits for a moment, to everyone listening. Do you instinctively give a creator's opinion more weight simply because their profile says they have 2 million followers?
Most people do, whether they admit it or not.
Does that quantified number give them an unearned authority in your mind when they recommend a radical lifestyle change or a new supplement?
Prestige fundamentally alters perception. When a creator with millions of followers frames a certain aesthetic, a lifestyle, or even a political stance as the correct and desirable choice, a massive portion of their audience will adopt that framing as their own baseline reality.
Purely based on the messenger's perceived digital authority?
Yes.
And they aren't broadcasting these ideas with a megaphone. They are delivering them through the intimacy of a vlog from their bedroom.
And this is the ultimate perfected evolution of Bernays' engineering of consent. Propaganda has been entirely repackaged.
It's cozy now.
Exactly. It is no longer delivered as a stark, authoritative poster on a city wall. It is delivered in the incredibly disarming, friendly packaging of relatable content. It relies heavily on parasocial interaction.
Parasocial interaction, that distinct, one-sided feeling that you actually know the influencer personally, that you are friends with them.
Yes, modern influencers do not introduce themselves as consent engineers or propagandists.
That would be a terrible bio.
Right. They view themselves as content creators building communities. But structurally, they are operating the exact same machinery Bernays built.
They're shaping daily habits, altering opinions, and engineering desires.
All while wrapping the persuasion in the warm language of authenticity, vulnerability, and personal connection.
So what does this all mean for us? We've covered a century of psychological engineering. To synthesize what we've unpacked today, the foundational mechanisms of 1920s propaganda never disappeared.
No, they didn't fade into history at all.
They simply evolved, acquired a ring light, and mastered the TikTok algorithm. Mass persuasion in our modern digital culture is constant. It is largely hidden beneath the surface.
And it relies entirely on shaping your deepest unconscious desires while cloaking itself in the quantified prestige and manufactured social proof of the modern influencer economy.
Exactly.
Understanding this architecture is incredibly empowering, though. I know it can feel a bit discouraging initially to realize how deeply orchestrated our digital environments truly are.
It feels a little matrixy.
It does. But by grasping these tactics, by finally seeing the invisible irrigation pipes that Bernays first laid down 100 years ago, you regain your cognitive autonomy.
You take the power back.
You do. You could open your phone tomorrow morning and begin the process of separating your genuine internal desires from the engineered ones. You can recognize when your anxieties are being activated.
You can spot the person making your house dusty before you agree to buy their vacuum cleaner.
Exactly. The awareness breaks the spell of the illusion.
I want to leave you with one final thought, something to mull over on your own that builds on everything we've explored today.
I love a good lingering thought.
If our aesthetic preferences, our lifestyle goals, our anxieties, and even our daily habits are constantly being engineered by unseen marketing machinery disguised as organic culture, what does a truly original, completely uninfluenced desire even look like in the modern world?
That is a tough question.
Is there any part of our identity, any preference we hold that is entirely and exclusively our own? Next time you are casually scrolling and you feel that sudden, intense urge for the matcha latte and the perfectly curated living room, ask yourself who actually placed that desire there. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.